This is the country I live in. Oh dear. Stolen and burnt. My little vlog today is drinking and driving malarkey, or drinking and riding even. I'm going to be honest, in my younger days, in the 70s, when I first started to drive and ride motorbikes, for that matter, is I used to drink and drive and drink and ride, although the ride I used to have was only on a moped, so I must have been drunk to ride that. But yeah, I used to have a little rally moped, and I used to regularly go up to the local, which was about 3 or 4 miles away, have about 7 or 8 pints of bitter, and ride my moped back to home, and then sneak upstairs before my mum found out. But yeah, I used to do that a lot, in fact every Friday, and it was sort of the acceptable thing. I'm talking the early 70s here, and I think it was a bit, maybe not, I'm not really sure to be honest whether the breathalyzer was in at that time, but it was the done thing. And I used to go to the Albion. It was a social club about, like I say, 2 miles from home, when I first started work at 15, 16, and I first got me moped at 16. And I used to regularly go out and get a few pints down my neck. And I've got to tell you, I mean, I must have been pretty drunk as it happens, and I used to do the same in the car as well. Now this is when I first started going out with Sue. I used to have a Triumph Herald, and one particular night I was sitting outside a takeaway, because they had takeaways and a Chinese takeaway, and I just got back into the car and I got the lights on, ready to drive off. And you must remember, I've had about 7 or 8 pints at this stage, and the young Bobby comes along, walking along the pathway there, and he says to me, you realise one of your headlights is not working? I says, yeah, I didn't know that. And he says, what's the registration of your car, sir? And I says, oh, I don't bloody know. So I says to Sue, who was sitting next to me, I says, Sue, what's the registration of this car? And she knew, because luck would have it, so she gave the officer, you know, the info, if you like. Now this officer, he was a young bloke, I remember it well, he stood over me and then he says, well, he didn't say anything actually, because behind him then stood another officer. And this other officer says, what's going on here then? He says, oh, I'm just telling him that his headlight's gone. He says, well, have you checked his licence and that? And I said, well, I ain't got my licence. And he says, well, I'll tell you what to do. He says, come in tomorrow into the police station and bring your driving licence and your driving documents. So I said, fair enough. Slurred fair enough, I said. So anyway, they let me go. So anyway, I started driving home, Sue home, and I'd had a few. And I got back to more or less where Sue lived, and bugger me, a car was coming the other way and he flags me down. And they're a police car, and he says, he winds his window down, because he didn't have electric ones in them days, and he says, did you know one of your headlights is gone, sir? And I says, yeah. I says, yeah. A bloke with a big hat in Inkley told me that it had gone. And he looked gone out of there, shakes his head and drives off. Now, I don't think I'd have got away with that nowadays, but it was the way things were then. In fact, the bobbies used to go and have a bloody pint at the Albion after knock off, you know, with the way things were. But this vlog's not about endorsing drinking and driving, because I don't do that now. I used to, and I admit it. But I don't drink and drive, and I've never, ever, ever had a pint in recent times whilst on my motorbike. And I just wondered, have you ever done what I've done, been really naughty in the past, and it was like the norm? You'd have to be old like me to have done it, but I'd be interested to know, because I can willingly put my hand up and say, yes, I have drunk and drove and drunk and rode, but many years ago, and like I say, I wouldn't endorse it now, definitely not. But are you honest enough to say the same? Anyway, I'll leave you with that. Oh dear, we seem to have a burnt out car. This is what happens. This is what happens. This is the country I live in. Oh dear. Stolen and burnt.